Please be seated. The court is now in session. Today the chamber continues to hear testimony of Kirut, and after that we begin hearing testimony of a civil party to TCCP 1063. And before we proceed, the chamber wishes to inform all parties to the proceedings in case 002/02 that today Judge Yu Uttara has some urgent personal matters and cannot attend the proceedings, and after the bench deliberation, Judge Tumani, who is a reserve national judge, is replacing Judge Uttara until such time that Judge Uttara is able to return to the bench. And that is based on Rule 79(4) of the ECCC internal rules. Mr. M. Hoi, please report the attendance of the parties and other individuals to today's proceedings. Mr. President, for today's proceedings, all parties to this case are present. Mr. Nguyen Chie is present in the holding cell downstairs. He has waived his rights to be present in the courtroom. The waiver has been delivered to the greffier. The civil party who is to conclude her testimony today, that is Madame Kirnip, is present in the courtroom. We also have a reserve civil party, namely through TCCP 1063. Thank you. President, thank you. The Chamber now decides on the request by Nguyen Chie. The Chamber has received a waiver from Nguyen Chie, dated 30 November 2016, which states that due to his health, that is headache, back pain, he cannot sit or concentrate for long, and in order to effectively participate in future hearings, he requests to waive his rights to be present at the 30 November 2016 hearing. Having seen the medical report of Nguyen Chie by the duty doctor for the accused at the ECCC, dated 30 November 2016, which notes that today Nguyen Chie has a constant lower back pain when he sits for long, and recommends that the Chamber shall grant him his request so that he can follow the proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs. Based on the above information and pursuant to Rule 81(5) of the ECCC internal rules, the Chamber grants Nguyen Chie his request to follow today's proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs via an audio-visual means. The Chamber instructs the AV unit personnel to link the proceedings to the room downstairs so that Nguyen Chie can follow. That applies for the whole day. And the Chamber wishes now to issue an oral ruling on the admission of civil party application of 2 TCCP 1063 as evidence. The trial chamber notes that the civil party application of 2 TCCP 1063 is currently classified under the document reference number D22/194. The Chamber has recently admitted the civil party's supplementary information as document E3/10670. Please see E436/1. Another supplementary information for this civil party was previously admitted as E3/5932A. In line with the Chamber's practice concerning the admission of material relevant to individuals appearing at trial, The Chamber now accordingly admits through TCCP's 1063 civil party application and assigns a document reference number E3/106708 to it. And I'd like now to hand the floor to the co-prosecutors to put questions to this civil party.
Merci, bonjour, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. President, Your Honors. Good morning to all the parties. Good morning, Madam Civil Party. My name is Vincent de Wild, and I will be asking you questions on behalf of the co-prosecutors this morning. I know it is not easy to remember all of these events which took place a long time ago, but I would simply ask you to be very precise in your answers. And if you do not know an answer to a question, simply say that you do not know. If you don't understand a question, just ask me to repeat. There's no problem there. So a first question concerning your family members. Were any of your family members, one or several, officers or soldiers of the Khmer Republic of Lon Nol, or did they hold posts in that government between 1970 and 1975?
Yeah.
During the Lon Nol wartime, I had an uncle who came to Kampong Chhnang province, and he had disappeared since. As for my direct family members, including the members on my husband's side, did not participate or become any soldier in the army. However, some of them became soldiers for the Khmer Rouge.
Pourriez-vous nous donner...
Could you give us the name of this uncle who disappeared?
My uncle's name is Chun Chum.
Pouvez-vous nous dire...
Can you tell us when he disappeared? Was it before 1975? Did he disappear before 17 April 1975 or after 17 April 1975 when the revolutionaries took control of Phnom Penh?
My uncle that disappeared after 1975.
Et qu'avez-vous...
And what did you learn about the circumstances of his disappearance? Who told you about it, and what did you learn?
My uncle who disappeared, I received this information from someone who was in the same native, who lives in the same native village. After we left Kampong Chhnang, there was an appeal there for people who had previous employment. They should return to their respective employment by presenting themselves, and my uncle fell into the trick. He presented himself and he disappeared. Another person named Ro did not do so, and accordingly the person could return to the native village. However, after 1975, they conducted the research and found out that he used to be a former Lon Nol soldier, and subsequently he also disappeared.
Merci.
Thank you. Yesterday you spoke about the fact that around the New Year 1978 you met with your husband again near the central market in Phnom Penh, and you said that you were a cook. At that time, were you a member of the same unit as your husband? So this was the supply unit, if I've understood correctly.
In 1978, my husband brought me from my home in order to join the celebration of the New Year that year. And when I arrived, I was assigned to be a cook. That is, a cook for those who lived in the same house.
Et après cela,
And after that, did you continue to cook until your husband disappeared?
I continued to be a cook. However, on the day that my husband disappeared, I myself was taken from where I lived, although we were taken at different times on the same day.
This unit of cooks, was it also under what you called Ministry 870?
Yes, that was the location, and it was known as a state market to provide food, vegetable, and rice, and it was known at the time as Ministry 870.
Yesterday, when responding to the question of Her Honor Marie Guiraud, you said that your husband was not a cadre, but a simple worker carrying out manual labor. I just want to clarify about what you said, because in document E3 6425, which is the victim information form, in French it's on page 1152692, in English 01114153, and in Khmer 00544168. And this is what is written in that document. During the year 1978, after the mass arrests of cadres at the level of unit chiefs, office chiefs, and department chiefs, my husband was promoted. He was promoted to the post of cadre and a post within Office 870. So I'm going to ask you this question again. Was there an event in 1978 which meant that your husband changed status from a labor reporter to one who is a cadre?
He said that my husband was chief of a battalion. I made that statement when he was a soldier. However, after the liberation in 1975, when he came to work at the state market, he was simply a worker, and his task was to gather supplies to store in the warehouse.
Yamadelo.
Councillor Copper, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Not sure whether it's an objection or observation. It's too late for an objection anyway, but I'm not quite sure what the prosecution means with the word cadre. Does it mean a CPK member or does it mean something different? Because I don't think there's any definition as to what cadre means.
Je pense que la question
I think that the question that was asked was answered by the civil party. I don't think it's necessary to go into this debate, but I think that one can be cadre and have certain functions without actually being a member of the CPK. So, Madam Civil Party, I will conclude then that there was an error in document E3/6425, the Civil Party application or information form, and that your husband had not become a cadre. Concerning who was in charge of the State Supply Office, the State Market Supply Office, which was attached to Office 870, do you know who was the direct supervisor of your husband?
In 1978, when I arrived, I only knew Vui and Pin, who were the supervisors in that location, and that's all I know.
donc au-dessus de
So above Vui and Pin, you don't know who managed this office overall, if I've understood correctly.
ចាខ្ញុំ
Yes, I didn't know about that.
je vais revenir tout à l'heure.
I'll come back a bit later to what happened to Vui. Yesterday you told us that you had seen Kyosampan distributing supplies and food to people who had come from Preveng in the East Zone. Had you already heard of Kyosampan before you saw him and before your husband said that it was him?
One day when people were evacuated from Preveng province, we were ordered to cook for them. And then they had supplies, materials, including clothing and scarves. These materials or supplies were distributed to them. And during the course, I saw Kyo Sampon. Initially, I did not know him, but I asked my husband, and my husband said that he was Onka and he was known as Ta Kyo Sampon. That's all I know about that.
À part lui, est-ce que
Aside from him, had you already heard other names of high-level authorities and leaders in the Democratic Kampuchea regime?
Before that, I had only heard of Onka, but I did not know who the leaders were, that is, amongst those Onkas.
à proximité de...
Near the Central Market, do you know if there was an office which was the Foreign Commerce Office?
No, I was not aware of that.
Donc j'en viens alors à
So I'll come back then to this incident that you saw. At the time when you saw Kyo Sampan distributing scarves and food to people from Preveng, the krama, or scarves that were being distributed by Kyo Sampan, what color were they?
The krama that he handed to the people there at the Central Market was blue and white in color.
est-ce que c'est
Were these blue and white kramas reserved only for people who had come from the East Zone and were near the Central Market?
I saw that the kramas were distributed to those people. Council Andakise, you had the floor.
Merci.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll come back to the same objection that I made yesterday when my colleague Marie Guiraud asked more detailed questions on the evacuees from the East. We're entering there into an area that concerns the displacement of the people, and what happened on that day, and therefore I object because that is not part of this trial. So in the same way that I objected yesterday, I object to following questions by the co-prosecutor in this regard. Co-prosecutor. Yes, Mr. President, I will make a very long response because my questions, I have many of them, are about what Khieu Samphan was doing, and it's only to find out what Khieu Samphan was doing at the Central Market, and particularly distributing the blue and white scarves. This concerns the role of Khieu Samphan. And now, we're also concerning the definition of enemies of the DK Republic. And I will be asking other questions concerning the follow-up on the role of the accused who was distributing the blue and white scarves to people from the east who were moving towards the northwest. So this isn't as banal as we might think, this distribution. So we need to ask if this was a humanitarian distribution or if it was something that would allow for the subsequent identification of people from the East Zone, which would then lead to being able to commit crimes against them. So if the Chamber does not want to hear this type of question and evidence, I wonder why the Chamber would have asked this person to come and testify today. Moreover, the last thing, the role of the accused and his contribution to the joint criminal enterprise is completely relevant. Even if the criminal facts that he's accused of might fall outside of the crimes in 00202, nevertheless, the role of the accused and to what extent he was participated in the joint criminal enterprise is very pertinent. Also in case 00201, such evidence was heard when there was no direct link with the movement of the population too. So those who were coming to testify would not have been able to testify in case 2-1 in that case. And I think it's very relevant if we are talking about the role of Khieu Samphan concerning these people and the significance of wearing a blue and white krama in democratic Kampuchea.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Antegisi. Thank you, Mr. President. I will allow myself to respond to the very long answer of the co-prosecutor. Of course, we can talk circumstantially about the displacement of the population, which is not in the scope of the trial, which is to say a topic on which the prosecution could provide evidence and ask questions. But obviously, the defense, because this isn't part of the trial, has not had the opportunity to submit any evidence, review any evidence, or call any witnesses to testify on this topic. So then you can ask questions that the defense cannot cross-examine effectively, and the defense is not able to bring witnesses because In fact, that serves our purpose as well, to try to find such evidence. So trying to find supplementary evidence against Mr. Khieu Samphan, there's a very simple rule of procedures that we are not meant to talk about things that are not in the closing order, that are not within the scope of the trial. And why? Because the defense is not able to bring evidence on these particular issues. So why did the chamber bring this person in? We were told that she is giving circumstantial evidence and she has seen Khieu Samphan, but because she saw Khieu Samphan for a period of 5 minutes, so I don't know on what basis the co-prosecutor has to say that she can have information or evidence on what happened since she saw him only for 5 minutes, because she clearly can't know what happened to these people from the East Zone who were evacuated somewhere else. And once again, these facts are not part of the scope of this trial. So we can talk about the motivations of the defense, but in fact, we're losing time here on something that is not part of the scope of the trial, and which is a violation of the rights of the defense, because once again, we're talking about things that we said we were not going to talk about in the context of this trial.
Mr. President, if I may add to the argument from the Khieu Samphan defense team that I fully support, I believe this situation with this particular witness is similar as to a situation that arose 2 weeks ago with a witness who had his origins in the East Zone and was subsequently maltreated, yes or no, in Kampong Spoo. Questions were asked by lead international co-prosecutor Kum Jan, and you said very specifically 1 or 2 very general questions, and that's it. And I think we have a very similar situation here. Maybe 1 or 2 questions, but that should be it, because it is very clearly outside the scope.
Can I just clarify something? I'm not sure it's really comparable, because if I understand the prosecutor correctly, what he's saying, this might have happened during the movement, but the movement is not what this is about. This is about the role of the accused, which is not necessarily the same. Did I understand that correctly? All of this is a bit long, but I think this is what it boils down to.
I would understand that reasoning. However, I understood the lengthy answer of the prosecution to be that he would like to ask very detailed questions on what happened to the people with the blue and white kramas. That's how I understood his answer, and that's why I rose to support the objection. If it's limited to what happened at the market and etc., then it's to a certain extent understandable, although maybe not necessary. But if we really go into the details of what happened to these people, I think we're off limit.
Monsieur le Président.
President, the chamber overruled the objection related to the fact of what happened at Psa Thmai. The question can be asked, but it should not ask for the details about the third stage of evacuation.
Toutes les questions que je vais...
Mr. President, all the questions that have been asked, since I have to respond, are related to the role of Khieu Samphan and to know whether at the time when the blue and white kramas were distributed, he knew that they were going to be used to identify the persons who received them. So the role of Khieu Samphan is part of this trial.
Madame la partie civile.
Madame Civil Party? To how many persons and families did Khieu Samphan distribute clothing, including blue and white kramas, as well as food to people from the east near the market? Can you give us an estimate of the number of persons who received those kramas?
He distributed materials, and there were hundreds of evacuees.
សំណួរមិនចឹងទេ
President, the question is not about that. The prosecutor asked you about your witnessing the distribution of krama and food by Khieu Samphan to the evacuees from Prey Veng province. The question asked to you was about how many evacuees who received the krama and materials from Khieu Samphan. I mean, the question was about the number of people you saw who received the krama and materials from Khieu Samphan.
ចាដែលខ្ញុំបានឃើញ
Witness, I saw him distributing material to one person. I saw him distributing the krama to one elderly woman.
Je ne suis pas sûr d'avoir tout à fait compris.
I am not sure I entirely understood, because in the previous answer you gave in French, mention is made of about 100 evacuees who received food and clothing. Was it only one person that you saw, or about 100 person you saw receiving kramas and food?
ពីច្រើនពិត
Yes, there were many people there. But I saw him giving a krama to an elderly woman. But there were many people over there. And I saw him giving one krama to the elderly woman.
គង់សមន
President, the floor is given to Council Kong Samon. Kong Samon, thank you, Mr. President. To my recollection from her answer yesterday, the witness said that Khieu Samphan handed over krama several times to the evacuees. And she said several times that Khieu Samphan gave one krama to one person at Psa Thmai. So I think the question is repetitious. Thank you.
Alors, je voudrais clarifier.
Now, I would like to clarify a point. In your victims information sheet, E3/6456 in French, 011-52-693 in English, 01114154, and in Khmer, 00544170. And this is what you stated. Before my husband's arrest, I saw Khieu Samphan at the corner of the central market distributing white and blue squared scarves, food and clothing to evacuees from the East Zone who were subsequently going to be transferred to the Northwest Zone. End of quote. Now, clarify how you knew that the persons to whom Khieu Samphan distributed food and clothing were persons from the East Zone, and that they subsequently were sent to the Northwest Zone.
Witness, I was aware of this because I was also there, and I witnessed the event with my own eyes.
D'accord, mais qui vous...
Very well. But who told you that they were from the East Zone and that they were going to the Northwest Zone subsequently? Was it the evacuees themselves who told you, your husband, or perhaps other persons?
The reason I was aware because when those people arrived, our group asked them where they came from, and they told us that they came from Prey Veng.
Est-ce que vous avez vu un?
Did you see a single group that came close to the central market? About 100 persons who came, or waves of persons who came to the central market from Prey Veng or Svai Rieng?
ចាដែលខ្ញុំឃើញគឺ
President, please hold on. Madam Civil Party, the floor is given to Council Ontakuse.
là très concrètement
The questions of the co-prosecutor in concrete terms have to do with the movements of people, where they were going to and where they came from. So I object to this question. Prosecutor, Mr. President, I'm only referring to the events in which Kyo Sampan distributed clothing and food to people in this context. Counsel for the Defense, that's the problem, Mr. President. We are being told that we cannot talk about this event without placing them in the context, without talking of the movements of persons. And we have a situation in which the defense is being placed in a situation where they are talking about facts in regard to which we cannot defend our client. Co-prosecutor, let me clarify something, Mr. President. The name of the civil party, as well as the names of others who will appear before this chamber, are on the list of witnesses and civil parties. For more than 2.5 years, they have been on the list. And we know that the only way, as we've said in our motion, that these persons can be heard before this chamber is to detail the roles of the accused, particularly with regard to these evacuees from the East Zone and the distribution of white and blue clothing and scarves. To say that this is not part of the case file is an aberration. The defense shouldn't object to the calling of these persons to testify. Counsel for the Defense.
Sorry, can we shorten this? We have had this argument. The chamber has ruled on it. I haven't heard anything new now. Or am I missing something? Did anything happen between our ruling a couple of minutes ago and now?
j'ai entendu dans
Counsel for the Defense. I heard in the President's decision that they wouldn't address elements regarding the third movement of the population, and I rose to my feet because the co-prosecutor was referring to events related to the third movement of the population.
Je ne sais pas quelle est la décision de la.
Co-prosecutor, I do not know what the decision of the chamber is. Can I continue, Mr. President?
President, now let me make it clear. I repeat what I said. And I already clarify and emphasize
that your question should focus on the role of the accused for these civil parties or witnesses. As for other facts, they are supplementary, and if you focus on that, it would be not the main focus of this segment of the trial. You cannot expand such a scope because the scope of this trial has been limited, and witnesses are selected in order to be questioned on this scope of this segment of the trial. And for that reason, we have to choose which civil party or witness is particularly important for a certain segment of the trial. As for general witnesses or experts, all parties can ask them on almost any topic. For that reason, you should limit your questions and make it conforms to the facts or the scope of the segment of the trial, and avoid wasting time rather to fill the times allocated to that particular party. If it is not necessary, then you should move on so that we can hear another civil party or witness rather than to fill the allotted time. You should not proceed.
Merci. Donc,
Thank you. I'll move to another line of questioning, and for the record, I would like to refer the chamber to 3 statements that I've not been able to read: E3/5542, E3/7708, and E3/3970 that refer to the fate of persons who had blue kramas. Madam Civil Party, I would like us to talk about another subject, the arrest of your husband, Kumche, alias Chen. I would like you to specify when your husband was arrested. How long after the Vietnamese captured Phnom Penh?
ចាប្តីខ្ញុំ
My husband, who was at the market, he was with me. But when he was arrested and taken away, I did not remember the date. But based on the document here, he was arrested and taken away on the 11th of December 1978. Rather, it was in December, but I cannot recall the exact date. But one day, he was taken away along with 3 other individuals. My husband named Chu, and another person who was taken away along with him was Run. This is based on the name list of people who were taken away.
donc ça c'est la liste que vous...
That was the list that was shown you yesterday by Councillor Giro, list E3/104744, which shows that your husband entered S21 on the 11th of December 1978 and was executed on the 14th of December 1978. In your supplementary information form, even though there aren't many dates, we have the dates of October 1978. And is reference E3/6425 little a, and the page in English is 02069300, and in Khmer 00581519, and in French 011513995. And this is what is stated on the form. This is what you stated. However, subsequently, Anka arrested my husband in October 1978. He was stuffed into a car and taken to an unknown destination. I did not know the reason why he was arrested, but in my opinion, Anka systematically arrested people who were well placed. End of quote. My question is as follows. Did you know, or were you able to find out, even after 1979, whether your husband was first detained or re-educated at another location before he was taken to S21?
No, I received no news from him. He disappeared. I only found out about the details of his arrest only when I saw this document.
D'accord. Est-ce qu'un dénommé...
Very well. Did Rhett talk about the fate of your husband after 1979? That is Rhett, written, spelled as follows, R-E-T.
ចាក្រោយឆ្នាំ79
after 1979. It was in 1980. In the rural areas of my area, there was no good harvest yield. We went by ox cart to Siem Reap to collect rice, and I met him. He told me that my husband was either imprisoned at Preso or at S21. So I received the news about my husband's disappearance from Raid, who was living in Siem Reap.
Alors hier, vous avez dit
Yesterday, I believe you did say that your husband was taken away by 3 persons, 3 Khmer Rouge. Did you know from which office those 3 persons came?
ខ្ញុំនិយាយ
I said that there were 3 individuals, including my husband. The 3 were my husband, Nye and Run. I did not see them being taken away because at the time of their arrest, I was cooking in the kitchen hall, and my husband was at his workplace. I was aware of their arrest from my son, who was 3 years old at that time. When I did not see his father, I asked him, and he told me that 3 people were taken away: my husband, Uncle Nye, and Uncle Run.
D'accord, donc
Very well. I know the victim's supplementary information form is not always very reliable. I was talking of cadres from Office K7. Did you hear about that office, and did you know what it was all about at the time, or you have no idea as to what that office was?
ខ្ញុំបានដឹងទេមន្ត្រីក
No, I did not know about the K7. I heard people in my workplace talking about K7, but I did not know where it was and about its roles.
Alors vous avez parlé des 2 collègues.
Now, you refer to 2 of your husband's colleagues who were also taken away at the same time, Ron and Kamiye. Did you know the spouses of those 2 persons if they were married?
អាចចំណែក
Run was not married yet. For Ye, he is married, and his wife's name was Yat. But I don't know her original name. In our team, she was addressed as Nat.
Est-ce que la femme de
Was Ye's spouse, Mat, taken away at the same time as yourself, or she wasn't led away at the same time with you?
ចាដល់
After my groups were taken away, Ye's wife, Nat, was also taken away on the same day with me.
y avait-il de nombreuses femmes?
Were there several women who were led away at the same time as yourself to the pagoda you referred to?
ចាស្ត្រីចា
Yeah, there were 4 or 5 women. And there was yeah, there were women and there was only one man named Hom. We were in the same groups and we were familiar with each other.
Est-ce que toutes ces femmes qui étaient dans ce véhicule
had all those women who were in the vehicle faced a situation in which their husbands had already been led away?
ចា
All the women who went along with me, some of them had their husband with them while some did not.
Donc juste une question sur
I have one question regarding your destination. You talked of a pagoda called She Udam, I believe. Do you know whether that pagoda was under Office 870?
President, please hold on. The floor is given to Counsel Ontakuse.
Objection.
I object to the manner in which the question has been asked by the co-prosecutor. The civil party has always talked of the Ministry 870. She never talked of Office 870. Let me rephrase the question. Do you know whether the pagoda where you worked, where you harvested rice, was under the Ministry 870?
We were sent to Cheyodam Pagoda. We knew it was called Cheyodam Pagoda, but we did not know whether it was under what or which ministry. It was where we were sent to harvest rice.
alors hier vous
Yesterday you were shown a document E3/10/424. I have another document E3/1974, and it is an interrogation list from S21, and the relevant page in French is 00884077. In English, 00184007 and 008. And in Khmer, 000528997. Mr. President, I would like to hand this document to the civil party, bearing in mind that it probably bears the name of her husband and the other persons, and will ascertain whether those names are on the document.
President, yes, your request is granted.
donc il y a 4 noms
So there are 4 names under the title State Economy. Not 3, but 4. The first is a person called Khy, K-H-Y, Pengly, Lee, P-E-N-G-L-Y, alias An, A-N. Aged 23, male, a messenger of the State Economy, 2nd of November 1978. That is probably the date of arrival at S21. Let me stop here for now with this question. At the time, did you know that person by the first name on the list? That is Ang Khy Peng Lee, a messenger of the State Economy. Does that ring a bell to you?
No, I was not familiar with this name.
Alors je vais lire les trois autres.
I'll read out the three other names that correspond to those that feature on the other list that was given to you yesterday. We have Kang Ye, age 26, male, combatant of supplies in the state market, 11th of December 1978. Then we have Kong Chi alias Chun. In French, at least this is what's written, Kong Chi, Kong-Chi, Chy, alias Chun, Choeun. As regards the age, it said that it's very difficult to read it and in Khmer, and we translate it into French as 35. Male, combatant, working at the state market in the supplies department on the 11th of December 1978. The fourth name is Tu Lek, Thouleak, alias Run, Run, age 24, male, combatant, working in the supplies department of the state market on the 11th of December 1978. Can you tell us whether we are talking of the same persons here, that is your husband, as well as his colleagues, Kan Ye and Run?
Kung Ye was my husband's friend. President, please hold on witness, and Counsel Kung Sam On, you have the floor. Kung Sam On. According to this document, which is shown by the co-prosecutor, the civil party does not identify her husband's name, whether her husband's name appears on the list yet, but the deputy co-prosecutor confirms that it's her husband's name on the list. This is a supposition made by the deputy co-prosecutor and to give a hint to the civil party.
Je ne crois pas. Monsieur le Président, je ne crois pas.
Mr. President, I do not think so. I am asking the civil party if, because it seems to correspond to what we saw yesterday, these same three names, I'm asking if it is about the same three people, including her husband. If she doesn't think that it's about her husband, then she simply needs to say so.
Mr. President, this document is different, and there is also a line crossing on the name, and the age appeared here is different from what the civil party testified. She testified yesterday that when her husband disappeared, he was 25 years old, and in this document, the person's age is 35 years old. Deputy co-prosecutor, you should first ask about the name of the person and whether she is familiar with the name, and if so, then who the person is. If you follow this practice, then it will be clearer. And if you ask, and if she says she doesn't know, that's it. Please reformulate your question and make it precise. And if the age is different, then you should also ask about the age, because here there is a gap of 10 years old.
Justement, je ne crois pas.
That's just the point. When looking at the Khmer version, I don't think we can say if it's a 2 or 3, but I don't know Khmer. So, Madam Civil Party, this person, who is called Kung Chi alias Chun in this document, who was a combatant, a supply combatant in 1978, is this your husband or not?
I am here to testify, and I already took an oath before the Iron Club State True, and I can say that this person is my husband. And the other name, that is Run. Run is my husband's friend. So I am familiar with these 2 or 3 individuals.
Bien, tout à l'heure, vous avez...
Very well. Earlier you mentioned as your husband's supervisors someone named Voi. So I'd like to submit to you a document which is also a list of persons who were interrogated at S21. It's list E3/2178, and the relevant page in Khmer is 0000-21091. In English, 00631981, and in French, 00631977. In fact, it's a bit complicated to read it, so perhaps to save time, I will read the translation. So this is a list of people who were interrogated at S21. There are 66 names, and for some of them, the date of execution is mentioned, while others seem to still be in interrogation. So the name So Sua, S-O, followed by S-O-U-R, alias Voi, V-U-Y, 29 years old, male, head of Office of State Supply for Office 870. 24 May 1978 is listed as the date of entry into S21. This is number 51 in the English, and in the original and French there is no number next to his name. So according to this information I gave you, Voi, 29 years old, head of the State Supply Office 871, does this also correspond to the person that was your husband's supervisor, whom you called Voi?
Yeah, but
Yes, that is correct.
Est-ce que vous avez appris à l'époque dans quel...
Did you learn at the time under what circumstances he disappeared?
No, I did not know about that. Although we had mealed at the same location, I was not aware as to when he disappeared. He simply disappeared.
Est-ce que vous savez qui l'a remplacé?
Do you know who replaced him as the head of this supply office?
After that, I did not know who took over the supply office. And later on, we also left, so I did not know who came to replace him.
Est-ce qu'à l'époque, vous aviez...
At the time, did you also know another cadre who was called Sao, S-A-O? His full name is Sam Ret Sua, S-U-O-S, alias Sao. He was 28 years old at the time.
No, I'm not familiar with that name. There were many people.
Entre...
Between your arrival in Phnom Penh, where you worked as a cook towards the Khmer New Year in 1978. Between that time and the time when your husband was taken away, were there cadres or combatants from your cook's unit or the state supply unit of your husband who disappeared?
À part Vouille, évidemment.
Aside from Voy, obviously.
No, I did not, because I left, so I did not know who came to take charge in that area.
Je vais reformuler.
I will reword my question. Perhaps it's a bit too complicated. I wanted to know if between April 1978, when you arrived there, and the time when you were brought in a car to go to the pagoda to grow rice, were there people who disappeared?
De votre unité.
From your unit or from your husband's unit? Do you have any knowledge of that?
I was taken into a vehicle to the rice field. I was among many people, and I did not know or did not care about who else disappeared, as I was only concerned about myself.
Très bien, je vous remercie.
Very well, thank you, Madam Civil Party. We have no further questions.
President, thank you. We have some matters to discuss with the parties. First, we'd like to ask the co-prosecutors and the lead co-lawyers, according to our schedule, that tomorrow we probably have only the morning sessions, and then we have the afternoon sessions vacant. And then we also have the schedule for next week. That is to begin with 2 TCW 1060 and 920. And these two are not able to testify tomorrow. However, 2 TCW 1069 is available to testify for tomorrow. And this witness is proposed by the defense team for Nuon Chea and is scheduled to be heard on Wednesday next week. The question is if the chamber calls 2 TCW 1069 just starting from tomorrow, whether you are able to accommodate that, that is after the conclusion of the 2 TCW 1063. Because it means that we move the schedule a bit forward.
To make it clear in English, a couple of witnesses have health issues, so we can't hear them. We are contemplating, the only person we can bring tomorrow is 1069, Nuon Chea witness. Ready to start tomorrow?
I'm a bit caught by surprise. So is his DC Cam statement translated? Because I'm not sure if it is. If it isn't, then that's of course very problematic, because we are now we based ourselves in the time upon that Searching for the Truth magazine article. We read the Khmer version of the DC Cam statement. There was an urgent request for translation. I don't know. I'm checking with my team now whether there is a translation, because that would be, of course, very problematic if it's only in one language.
So do we understand you correctly? If it is translated, you're ready to do it tomorrow. If it's not, you see a problem. Is this the gist of it?
Yeah, I suppose so, yes. The English is ready. I'm just being informed. So would I start tomorrow afternoon then, or?
It's far as anything is predictable here, yes.
Yeah, yes, I suppose so, yes.
That is good news. What about other parties? Because now we don't have any problem with the party who proposed the witness. If you have any problem, please raise. If not, then there is no need to be on your feet.
Écoutez, Monsieur le Président, nous sommes également...
Mr. President, we're caught a bit short as well. I think clearly if the defense of Nuon Shia is prepared to begin the interrogation tomorrow, we have no problem. However, if we also need to begin tomorrow, this would be more problematic because I don't believe that we're ready yet. So that's a situation. We can do as we have with other witnesses. As you remember in the Vietnamese segment where the defense had said that the co-prosecution could start, and then after the Christmas vacation we will be ready. I think that this is more or less the same situation. We will be ready to hear the questions of the defense, but we would be ready to ask our own questions perhaps next week. Otherwise we could have a poorly prepared questioning.
Well, I'm not sure if I understand what the prosecution is saying. We're not ready at all for these two witnesses either. As a matter of fact, I also have to read the other DC camp statement of that other Sao Pim relative. I'm willing to sacrifice. I think the prosecution should be willing to.
Pour clarifier les choses, Maître Copé.
Just to clarify things, Mr. Copé, can you tell us if you are ready or not ready for tomorrow? Because it seems to me I've heard things that are a bit contradictory. What are you telling us now? Are you ready to question to CCCP 1069 or not? I don't know exactly where we are now.
I'm not really ready, but I'm prepared to do it anyway.
Pour ma part, Monsieur le Président.
For my part, Mr. President, I can say that we are not ready at all. We have one single witness who is extremely important, so now I leave the Nuon Shia team because in this case it would mean that they would begin and we, because it's a witness that Nuon Shia called, we would be meant to question next week. So I understand that there's a need to move quickly, but to do so at the risk of botching preparations, I don't think that's a good idea. But I've said my piece, and I'll let the other parties say what they say. But I think it's a bit tight.
We actually notified the parties quite some time ago. However, the schedule is advancing a bit forward, and it is likely that the proposed party is willing to proceed. So other parties probably would have their turn next week, and the defense counsel for Nuon Shia is willing to proceed, because we try to fill in the afternoon sessions for tomorrow afternoon. And in fact, the schedule has been informed quite some time ago to the parties. Anyhow, the chamber would like to thank the parties for your feedback and observation. We take a break now, and we resume at 25 to 11. Court officer, please assist the civil party during the break time and invite her back into the courtroom at 25 to 11. The court is now in recess.